Thank you so much for participating and finding time to be part of the discussion and the political education to capacitate our comrades and us so that we can forge a way forward. Thank you so much to our guest here to as capacitators to forge a way forward. The political situation in the country is totally not in a good manner. But ours as comrades, we still hope hope would see. It's just a matter of time, no matter how painful it is, but it will be achieved. But with the right theory and the right education, we believe that the tactics and strategies to fight will be developed by that time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President of the Youth League. We then have our guest today. Our guest is Tommy Ntando. He's currently a public representative for the PAC of Azania in Mohale City. So he looks after the legislative part of our work and oversight of our governance work in that particular area. More importantly, he's a former youth leader himself. He is accomplished in that area. He was focused in economic development. He has traveled the world around issues of social enterprise. That makes him an expert in that area. He has even been in far areas like Japan in looking at their models and being ready to govern our own continent in a way that we have learned throughout the world. Today, Comrade Ntando will be taking us through the experiences of a youth leader and what a youth organization should be focused on to make its impact. Over to you, Comrade Ntando.
Mafrika? Hello.
We can now hear you.
You can now hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. I thought, okay. Yes, I was saying for introduction purposes, yes, indeed, my name is Tommy, and I'm here to make a presentation in terms of the role of young people or of a young leader in a revolution. Yeah, that's me. I don't know if you guys expect something else, but according to my understanding, I'm here to facilitate or explain or share experiences in terms of what it takes to be a youth leader, what to look for, what not to look for, how is the terrain, how is the road, basically around issues of young people and the revolution. I guess I'm right.
You are correct. Please proceed.
Okay. First of all, maybe we need to ask ourselves as to why young people are into a revolution. Are we together, forces? Can comrades maybe begin to show me that they are with me or not? Africa?
I think that you're gonna have a latency time due to space and a number of networks that we have. If you can just proceed, comrade.
Or if I can just proceed. Okay. Forces, I'm saying, first of all, we, from my understanding and from my approach to this, I firstly looked at the reason why young people are getting involved into the so-called political space, or what other people call it, the revolution. We know basically that why people are headed into a revolution is because that when young people come into the revolutionary space, they create what we call a sustainable and inclusive future. So they do not just come as people who would do something and it fade off, but whatever that they are coming to bring, it seeks to bring what we call sustainability and inclusivity in future. And maybe the second point for me, it would be when young people are coming together in a joint effort, that in itself, it seeks to serve as an engine for a social transformation. And we have seen that throughout the history. Many people can articulate to that. The other one is that youth movement are rapidly known to have acted for an overthrow or a dismantle of a system that seeks to oppress or do what we call a subordination. And then the fourth one, it would be to say that it is known that young people are the backbone and the pillar of every nation. So with these 4 points, for me, I believe these are the key things that make young people to participate or to become involved in what we call youth politics. Maybe just to give bones in what I'm saying and people to understand. Because firstly, I talked about a creation of a sustainable and inclusive future. Basically, in South Africa, we had a guy called Lembede. Anthony Mzwakhe Lembede, he's the founder of the ANC Youth League. He founded the ANC Youth League on the 10th of September. And that guy, what did he do? He did not only found the ANC Youth League, but he managed to bring the ideological understanding and bring the young people into the fourth. Hence, in his opening speech, you would hear that he talks about transforming the approach of the liberation from the passive resistance into a positive action. So in that sense, he managed to draw young people from cocoons where they were sitting and looking at, how do I put it, things happening, injustices, apartheid, ravaging our parents. But he managed to bring those young people and bring those efforts into a well-organized organization that then ascend to a national liberation movement and drive issues of young people from a national front. I think that's one. Two, you would also have Ntando Sobukwe. We know Ntando Sobukwe was involved in basically recruiting and forming a youth league, particularly a Forte. And we also know that Ntando Sobukwe, he played a major role. In fact, he's the founder of the PAC. And you would note that PAC emerged from, or majority of the leaders of the PAC emerged from what we call ANC Youth League. He was with Abo Mita. He was with Abo Matsonya. He was with Abo Mutube. And at that time, they were young people. The other person, maybe that I would make another example, or maybe still we are on the PAC. You'd know that in 1976 student uprising, it was orchestrated, organized by the PAC. And you understand that when you speak about student uprising, you are talking about young people. So you would understand that the process or the activities that were carried by the class of 1976 managed to transform or bring that transformation of what we call the education system. Even though that transformation did not take place in 1976. But I think in early, if I'm correct, in early 90s, we then saw that early 90s, yeah, just before 1994, where there was then that integration of the education system. So now in South Africa, we now have one integrated education system. Apart from that, so that I do not sound like I'm only focusing on one side, we also have this boy Malema. I think comrades, they know Malema. Malema was a youth leader in the ANC youth league, and they chased him. After they chased him, he went and formed EFF, and today, as we speak, EFF is taking a lead in advancing the land question in South Africa. So it's one of the forces to really take them seriously. It's not a political party that you'd really undermine. And Monte it has been started by young people. Further than that, you have comrade Chekovar. Chekovar, we know, he participated in what we call Cuban Revolution, where he introduced and came with what we call guerrilla campaign that seeks to overthrow and fight the Batista regime. You also have Sankara. And all these people that I'm mentioning, you'd understand that these are young people. Most of them, they were in the early 30s. The latest was 35, 34. But all these people that I've talked about, they've actually claimed their political popularity and center at their youthful age. Now, being a young person, being involved into politics, maybe before I go there, Uti Ufenon, every generation is a mission to discover. And it is upon that generation to either succeed the mission or to fail the mission. So basically, as young people, we then have this mission. We have this generational obligation to say, this is as my class or as this generation, this is what we want to achieve. This is what we are faced with, and this is what we aspire to get. So how do we do that? Hence, if we come, or if young people, they come collectively, they seem to do wonders. They seem to dismantle. They seem to shake institutions that no one would alone shake them. So, yeah, as an opening, basically that is that. I don't know whether if there are questions in terms of my opening, comrade. Mafrika, is there questions? Should I proceed?
Please proceed. No questions for now. Don't see any hands.
Okay. Then what is it that exactly we are talking about? Basically, we are talking about someone who's an activist. And being an activist, it's twofold, because now we are talking about politicians. You are an activist in your own political space. And at the same time, you find yourself being an activist outside now what you call your political space. For an example, in my case, there are situations where I find myself leading outside the political party. For an example, comrades who indicated that we are involved in youth development issues. In youth development issues, that's where, according to me and according to my experience, the objective it's people-centered. The objective it's the interest of those masses that you are serving. So you find you are in a community organization and you are advancing either you call it community development issues or your health issues where say maybe young people are looking for employment and you try and find programs that would then seek to assist those young people. In most cases, it's basically about the need of those young people, and that's what you should seek to address as a leader. And it's mandatory. That's where you go. Secondly, you have what you call your cooperative level. Cooperative level, nakona, it's more like you are being employed, either be this particular corporate company that seeks to say, we want you to run a particular program that speaks to young people. And you'll find how you operate at the corporate level. It becomes totally different from how you would normally operate and approach things at a political level. And there's also what we call governmental level. Nakona, at that governmental level, it is more of your statistics, it is more of your services, it is more of service delivery, it is more of you being there delivering for the people. But now when it comes to the political side, when you find yourself, you are now into the political youth space, internally you find yourself having to deal with branch issues. And basically when we speak about branch issues, we speak about the whole political activities, recruiting people, sharing political education with people, leading programs, strategizing. You are basically everything in the branch. And in the branch, in most cases, you come raw, and it is the responsibility then of the branch then to cook you. You also have what you call your regional level. At the regional level, that's where basically you deal with issues of capacity development. Maybe it's not only regional, but it would be regional and provincial level, where you deal with issues of capacity development, where you deal with issues of organizational positioning, where do you deal with issues of innovation and political mass. Because remember, or I said to you, when you are leading outside the organization, you find yourself, you are mass of people's need driven. But when you are leading within the organization, you find yourself, your programs are centered around organizational interest. I hope comrades, they understand what I'm saying when I speak about organizational interest as opposed to what we call people-centered approach. Yes, in politics, we always say that we seek to represent the interest and the will of the masses. But within that space, it should be directed, it should be championed, it should be guided by a political ideal understanding and an approach. And again, when you go to the corporate side, now it has its own dynamics, it has its own influence. It is not necessarily influenced by a particular political ideology, but it would be probably influenced by a particular research finding, and to say this is what we want to achieve as government or as an organization or as a corporate. So yes, both things, they are impact orientated, but what you would find, basically what I'm trying to say here is that now when you go and become a leader at the national level, you realize that now you're dealing with strategic issues, you're dealing with political goals, you're dealing with organizational outlook. Still, you're dealing with issues of capacity, and you're dealing with issues of political impact. Yeah, you see. So that's what you find when you're leading within the organization, and these are critical areas as a leader that you go around and look for. For an example, now I will try to bring this, how do I put it, this theory into practice. For an example, myself, I happened to work for a youth organization that was called Center for Youth Development. That organization was an apolitical organization. And in that organization, we had people from various political organizations. But once you get into that, you then take out the cap and that jacket of you saying you're a Pan Africanist, and this one saying he's a Democrat, and this one saying he's this. But you then seek to drive a particular goal, and that particular goal would be an organization. But that organization, it's driven by the interest of the constituency that it wants to serve. Hence, we are saying it then becomes people-centered. In that organization, what we learned there, basically, it's youth environment, youth dynamics. To say young people, they vary, and once you are involved in such a organization, young people, they begin to see you as a role model, because in terms of thinking and in terms of approach, you are a bit advanced to them, because you seek to be talking about issues that are affecting them, and you seek to be the guy who's saying, I'm here to champion these things. I'm here to saying there's a way out. Therefore, from that, you begin to grasp and understand a lot of things within the political, not within the political, but within the community space. Now, at the same time, while I was at CYD, I had to find myself being in the youth fraternity of the PAC. Again, in the youth fraternity of the PAC, they also have their own demands. Demand number one is that the organizational goals and programs must be advanced. So as a leader, you then need to find a balance between the two. Hence, other people, they say ideal and political understanding would then inform the comrade as to how he responds to particular issues. That's one. You at CYD, basically what I picked up at that particular level, we were dealing with issues of young people broadly, raw as they are. If I remember well, at that time, it was the time where HIV was still perceived as a monster. And the use of condoms was something that young people were like labeling it. And at that time, we had then to lobby these young people to change their behavior towards accepting the use of condom, and to see that condom, it's a best measure to protect yourself. And we had to champion that, because one, you are employed, there's an incentive for you to do this. If you do not do it, then. So hence I'm saying at a community level, it is mass driven and less political face. It is easy because the environment there, it's organized, and there's a lot of buy-in, or it's easy for you to get a buy-in. Again, the environment, it's resourceful. I mean, it's very easy to get a funding of an NGO as opposed to get a funding of a political party. Now, why I'm bringing this? The time I was at CYD, I was the Treasurer General of PAYCO, and it was difficult for us to get money. You know why it's difficult? Based on what I'm saying. I said to you, when you are leading outside the organization, you find yourself leading things that I call them people-centered needs. And when you are leading within the organization, you find yourself caught within the organizational interest. Now, my organization is a socialist organization. We live in a capitalist, or in an environment that seeks to promote capitalism. And I had to find organizations that are pro-socialist and have money that can put the resources to this socialist organization. And I don't want to lie, comrades, I don't want to claim. I tried wherever I tried, but I did not raise sufficient money that the organization could run competitive to the one that I was working for, the one that I just write a proposal and I get a funding, because it's easy for people to buy into it. Everyone see it as a community driven, as opposed to the political one, where people see it to say we are driving a political agenda here, or we are driving a political ideology here. I then moved. I went to CATE, an international organization that deals with humanitarian issues. There, comrades, I was exposed in what we call rural economic development. And I don't want to lie, I gained a lot of experience there, because you find communities that are very poor. You find communities that do not know as to, for me to eat tomorrow, where food will come from. But as a young person, because of you have, if you remember well in my opening statement, I talked about bringing innovation and sustainability of future. So as a young person, you are being trained either from a branch or from that youth structure that you participated as you were growing. So you are trained, to say you need to think innovatively, you need to think outside the box. That is why before I said material conditions on the ground will always inform the thinking of the comrade and how best the comrade could approach the environment. Now, in Limpopo, basically my organizational mandate there was to resuscitate structures of PAC. And as I indicated, comrades, you see, they sometimes say appearance, or we call it appearances, first impression lasts longer than everything. As I indicated, that at K, it was a corporate, it was an international organization, therefore means resources are here. And when I left Gauteng to go and work in Limpopo, comrades indicated to me, in Africa, one of our challenges is that we want the structure of PAYCO in Limpopo. And I went there knowing very well that in Limpopo we have about 5 regions, and there's only one region where you find the structure of PAYCO, that was in Vembe. So you find in Polokwane, that is your Capricorn, Skukuni, Waterberg, and what's that besides Vembe? There are no structures. So because I had the resources from my employer, and I had the liberty or access to move around the province, I could move around the province using the resources of my employer to come then advance party programs. And yes, as I indicated, that in Limpopo, people, it was difficult for them to move. I mean, it's rural. For you to travel 100 kilo, it's something that you plan for. Unlike when you are employed and there's petrol, it's easy. You just take a petrol card, you book in the logbook to say, I'm going to visit this community, knowing very well that along your way, when you come out of work, you're going to pass through this and facilitate this. And again, I managed, or yes, I would claim that I managed to assist the organization to establish the structure. And I remember one day where we had to go and look for a venue at one former teachers training college, where the venue was predominantly used by Machata. And I really, comrades, now I won't tell you what I did. But what I did basically was for me to dress up, wash, clean, take my employer's car, get in there. And when I went in there, people, they saw this serious young guy who's coming in to discuss business. Remember, I said it's a former teachers training college. So in most cases, they use it for event, they host events. So once the time I walked in there, people, they really saw someone who's serious. And I indicated, hey, we want to hire If you want to do 1, 2, 3, 4. And they did not give me stress. And we managed to do that. And from there, we started sending out invitations. Comrade, I don't want to lie. I was not using my own resources. I was using the resources of the employer. I hope of the records, and this thing, it won't go to the employer to say we're exploiting and using our resources to advance our objective. But I did that. And eventually we had a structure, we had a successful consultative congress. Subsequent to that, we had then structures being formed on the ground. And we had PAYCO now being active in Limpopo. Apart from that, I then left Limpopo. I came back to Gauteng. In Gauteng, I then joined VETS. Within VETS, I was also responsible for economic development, but now from a different angle and a different approach, which is your urban community. And again, one of the experiences that I learned and I carried home there was that the life of someone who's in an urban area depend on finances. You need money to pay rent. You need money to pay. You need money to pay this. Now, if you are going to call somebody for a program that does not have any monetary value to it, then that particular person does not see any benefit or anything to attend to it. There's a quote that says, I think it's Capra, that says, people do not fight for an idea or what is in a man's mind, but people, they fight for what would transform material conditions that would transform their future and sustain their future. So in so saying, comrades, basically my experience in this things of being a youth leader, it is to say that not everything would go according to what you want, and not everything would go according to the plans of the organization. At some level, as a young person, you need to improvise, and not everything you would debate it like you would debate at the corporate level. Because what happens at the political level, like I indicated, what we seek to advance there, it's an organizational interest. And when we are advancing organizational interest, we find people coming from different backgrounds, different experiences. And once these people are coming together, you as a youth leader, what you need then to do, it is to bring these experiences together, make them gel, so as you can attain a particular goal. Just to reflect or go back to what I was saying. At a national level, remember I said at the national level, as a youth leader, you seek to drive strategy, political goals, and outlook of the organization. And at PAYCO, at that time, we had these young people who are unemployed, these young people who do not have hope of tomorrow. And if you remember well, I indicated to you that the education system in South Africa changed as early as in the 90s. And when we came to the fourth of youth politics, we had these young people who were in the periphery. Either they are not at university and they are not being employed. And as a youth organization, we had then to come up with programs that then seeks to capacitate. If you remember well, Mafika, I said, as a youth leader, one of your responsibilities, one of your key roles, it is to share experiences, it is to capacity, it is to build, so that whatever that you have learned or whatever that you are creating, it does not fall after you. So we had to organize trainings. Other people, they call it camps, youth camps, where young people would come for entrepreneurship programs. Others would come either for life skills programs, and Mafrica, I don't want to lie to you. I think that thing has worked for us because yes, without any scientific proven report, majority of the people or young people who participated in our youth capacity building program, today most of them, they are owning businesses. Today most of them, they are well off. If they are not owning businesses, they are employed somewhere, mainly because at that time, as an organization, as a political organization, remember I said basically we had challenges. You have these young people whom they see you as a youth leader, they have expectations, and you're supposed to deliver within their expectations. Part of the expectation was that Africa is a higher needs as a 70, provide us with training, capacity building training, and we had to provide those training. Most of them today, as I indicated, they own security companies, they own businesses, they own cleaning services. They are captain of the industries today. And those particular people today, they are the very same people who are now able to carry the organization. You get what I mean? They are able to plow back. When you are saying Africa, there's a workshop, now they begin to understand to say, what does a workshop do to a comrade? Where does a workshop translate a comrade to at the end of the day? Yeah, maybe let me stop there. Yeah, let me stop there. So basically, and in a nutshell, if you are a youth leader from Africa, there's one thing that I really don't want to lie to you. It is a very uncertain environment. The environment is very uncertain. Today, you might wake up having the control of the masses, and tomorrow when you wake up, you no longer having the control of the masses. It's different from what I call it leading outside the political ambits, or leading outside the political parameters. In a political space, the environment is very uncertain. Normally, politicians, they normally say 2 hours is a very long time in politics. You might wake up, find yourself, you are not there. So that is why from time to time, it is always advisable that as a youth leader, you must be on the ground. You must be in touch with the masses. Must not be aloof. That's one. Secondly, as I said, that this terrain in Africa is very uncertain. It does not necessarily mean that when you do this, you are going to succeed. Some of the things that you are doing, you are going to fail. Some of ideas that are being shared in a meeting and you find yourself, you do not agree to them. Don't pressurize yourself if you find yourself failing to convince comrades to agree with you. I remember there's what we call the principle of democratic centralism. And whatever thing that happened, whether the decision that was taken is wrong or right, bear in mind it binds you. So you are part of that. So I'm trying to say, don't sleep, don't go to youth activities, to youth meetings, and find yourself, you are binding yourself with a decision that you do not want. But understand very well that if it's a decision that it's driven politically, the principles of democratic centralism, they apply to you. You must abide by those decisions. As opposed to, again, leading outside. Such you can challenge it. You can say, no, I'm Africa, this I'm challenging. Whether at court or otherwise. But within the organization, it's different. So, in a nutshell, that is my experience in Africa. If there's anything that comrade feel that I did not emphasize on, or maybe let me hear from you. Africa.
Thank you very much. Can we then open for questions? This was supposed to be very experience driven, and thank you very much. We had the experience being put on the table. I'll just request that someone come through with any question or any challenge of the experience. I don't see any hands.
Comrade.
Come in, comrade.
Thank you, Africa. Comrade, thank you for the short presentation on the experience. I'm not sure, Comrade National Chairperson, if the youth chairperson make mention of the issues of mobilization and organization, because we in the last Zoom meeting we touched on that. So I think I felt like we did not cover it wholly or something, because then the youth chair promised us that today's Zoom is going to touch on that too. Even though the our guest touched on issues of resuscitating the PAC in Limpopo. Yes, somehow in Africa we got something from that experience. We are building in Swaziland. I have to mention that we are building in Africa, so we really need these strategies, activities that you employed in order to resuscitate PAC in Limpopo. We are still mobilizing. In Swaziland. So issues of mobilization should take priority in our discussion. Thank you, Africa.
Thank you. Today, the topic was not that one specifically, that we've scheduled it for next week. The focus today was just to give a practical experience, as we had a theoretical perspective 2 weeks ago on this issue, but we needed to go to be practical of what are the techniques of engagement. Just before I as the hands go through, if I can just uplift some of the issues that I've had and ask for emphasis. I had the issue of taking both your political work and the other facet of your work to be able to make them move in the same direction, that the purpose become one. I would like you to touch on that, and also that issue of a bit of emphasis on what exactly was done to organize Limpopo. Over to you. Before I take the next hand, I can see this hand.
Okay. The organizing. Maybe let me say, I do not have a specific structured presentation on organizing and how to organize it, whether I call it a political event or how to specifically mobilize young people. But basically in Africa, as I indicated, that the environment is very uncertain. That's one. And two, the environment is not necessarily measured through a 24-hour activity. It's not like in a firm where you move this box to that box, then you can measure that this person has managed to do this thing successfully. But basically, principles of organization. One, they involve engagement, they involve participation, they involve reaching out, and they involve planning. In Africa, you cannot mobilize young people if you do not plan. Secondly, you cannot mobilize young people if you do not have, we call it a carrot. You need to have a carrot, a certain carrot that you dangle to them. If you mobilize them around issues of employment, let that be what you are selling to them, to say, hey, this is what we are fighting for. We are fighting to get jobs, or maybe we are fighting to be employed, or maybe we are fighting for an access to this. Now, if you organize, you then need to have a particular skill of identifying the niche. In business, it's called market niche. To say, but what is it that the most critical thing that these people want? And if I put it here, will they rally behind what I'm selling? That's one. Two, I said the terrain, it's not setting market. Some other people will block the way for you. Some other people will behave as if whatever that you are coming up with, it's something new, it's something strange. It's like you are crazy. The reason why when I started, I gave you an example of Abolimbede. I gave you an example of Abosobu. It is because at their time, they found a particular mission and they had to decide to say, we are pushing this particular mission. Now, if you are to organize something, you really need to know and to be informed about what you are organizing people or you're mobilizing people for. So don't mobilize people or information or creating, but this thing that I'm driving people towards in and you should bring hope to people. And like I said, Mafri, you are not guaranteed that the value of abantu bazoza kule campaign. So don't hate yourself if abantu abazanga kule campaign. If abantu abazanga kule campaign, it means somehow you made something wrong. Either the message, you did not convey the message properly, or it did not sit well with the people, or you convey message late, or the condition, hence I say conditions on the ground will inform you as to what strategy, what you should. So it's yes, you can have a manual to say, hey, this is what you organize. But at the end of the day, you as a comrade, you as a leader, you then need to take what you have learned and put it into your own experience and find a better strategy that is working for you within what you have planned for. That's one. Two, it was that one of balancing your political work and your outside political work. Africa, how do I put it? Not everyone is PAC. And those that are not PAC, probably they are EFF or they are DA or they are. But that does not necessarily make them my enemy. Now, when we go outside the political space, we are into a community and there's a community issue, and you find yourself having a knowledge or having an ability to champion and influence these people towards a particular direction and thinking, please stick to that. Sit on that, because it also shows the skill that you have learned, either from the political part of it. What you do not necessarily have to do is to quickly wave or force down the throat of these people to say, hey, I am PAC, then therefore let's do this thing in a PAC way. When now what you need to do is to provide leadership, is to provide guidance. And through that, you see, other people, they get attracted to an organization based on the behavior and the character of a particular individual. So once some other people, they normally say in an organization, if you do not have these celebrities, if you do not have these people who have seen, who are able to attract, or these people that other ordinary people identify them with, then your organization seeks to have a problem of attracting masses. Now, when I'm talking about balancing that, that's basically what I'm saying. To say that you find in your organization, your organization has this ideal political agenda that it wants to push. And at the corporate level, there's this community need that they are daily pushing. Please do not distance yourself from your organization and deepen yourself into what your organization needs. Stick to what your organization wants. Put the face of your organization, because at the end of the day, these people, once they see you, they know, or no, comrade so and so, he's a member of this political organization. Now, if he is seen within this society that is perceived and it's easily acceptable within the community, it therefore makes life easy for your political organization to say, oh, this organization, it's relevant. Because now the leaders, here they are in the community, they are driving what we call community level. And they've sort of drawn a line to say, today I'm not going to speak as a PAC. Yes, I'm still a member of the PAC, but I'll speak as a community leader and express that as a community leader. Now, later, when we come to immobilization, it becomes easy. Because people, they've seen you advocating for things that are not necessarily what your organization is advocating for. And when you come and advocate for what your organization seeks to want to agitate for, it becomes easy now people to relate with you. Because at first there's a relationship that you have created, be it that relationship was at a communal level or it was at a corporate level and at a need driven, that specific particular need that is driven. Then when it comes to politics, remember, politics is about economic and political power, state political power. Now, when it comes to that, it becomes therefore easy for people to identify and say, but that particular guy can be my minister. That particular guy can be my councillor. Because he has seen you championing programs that seek to be pro-community driven. Angazi noma ngiphendulile.
Thank you very much, Comrade Mafafa.
Thank you so much, Comrade Tommy, for such a presentation of experience, Comrade, and analysis, Comrade. I think the part PAYCO is the part of the role of the youth in the struggle. The role of the youth in the struggle. The issue of that the youth must play a role in the mass mobilization. People must ensure that we do not leave them mobilized, but you must organize the strong mass that is organized in organizations. I think CV presentation experience yako Comrade Tom it is very interesting because I think you are analyzing the truth. My question is here, Comrade. May you please unpack, because I think it's in the point less serious, but for me, angeva my leader, because it's in Zuhamba, my leader. Elego would say people more especially they are going for materialistics, not for many ideas and this. But in such that even the masses, when you mobilize them, under the system lekhona itingudla labantu babhilivela lokho ukuthi, for example, for these undemocratic Mswati's elections, laba MPs laba afunakele eParliament bavamise ukuthengisela abantu show ukuthi bayababribe abantu ukuthi votela mina, will give you this money. And I think that's a kind of a capitalist society they created to the mind value ukuthi bantu bafuna imetri. Instead that when you organize the masses, and our comrades have been raising the question ukuthi nabamobilize le maqembu bantu bafuna ukuthi dasendelani. You see such questions wabona ukuthi the mass. I think, comrade, may you please unpack closely kule dynamic leyo, my leader. That's my first request in leadership. Then ngibuye kule party ye leadership rethenzile, my leader. You are truly on point, my leader. It is not easy to be a leader. It's not easy, no, in that party leadership.
School, can I come in?
Over to you.
Okay, maybe before I come in, can I get the clarity on the second question? Eyokuqala ile ukuthi nizosenzela that people are not fighting for an idea, but they are fighting for material conditions that will change the future yabantwana. So I did not capture the second point after the material and what nizosenzela in a political party. What else?
Yes, my friend. I don't know what ngiyavakala in the morning.
You disappeared long time ago. Mazet is on the line now.
Is on the network.
You will come back. Complete, comrade Mazet.
Issues more. Network issues.
I think just to shorten the question, because we can hardly hear on the other side. It's basically the question is, one, people are not fighting for what is in their head. How do we deal with this material society that is being created by the values of capitalism that we live in currently? Both questions were moving in that direction. Thank you. Over to you.
First, another hard question. Hey, people are asking hard questions. Leadership, it's not easy. Maybe let me distinguish being a politician and being an ordinary person. No. I don't think this example will fit. But basically, what I wanted to say, you see, Amazion. Let me make an example about the church. You see, Amazion. There's Amazion, there's ZCC, the Shembe. You see those churches. They have their own followers, and those people are not necessarily around material, but they are around content. They gather there around a particular belief. They gather there around a particular hope that Masfizla standards, and this is our God. This is how we do it. And then, as opposed to the other one, the other one. This is what I'm saying. This is the challenges that then you come across with, where you find people up in court, and for them to participate into a particular problem. They get paid, and it's a challenge that is standing. Every or most political parties that I know, they are faced up with that. So it's again, like I made an example about the church. Being a politician, it's about selling what is right to people. Now, you'd know those who are selling those things. In most cases, those things are cosmetics. Because if that thing, if that 100 rand, therefore, that thing won't survive. So hence, I'm saying to you, find something, a market niche, find something that would really transform a life without them being bought, but them having power to say, we want this, and once we get this, this will change us. I think basically that is that. Angazi noma ngiyiphendulile.
Mazet is just going to come through now, but I think it comes back to the example that you make earlier in terms of the young people that where a problem was identified of their lack of development, their lack of access to opportunities, that was turned around, and they were not bought materially, but they were given the sustainable future that you started with. Over to you, Comrade Mazet.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, my leaders. I greet you all. I think the problem we have this side is network. That's the huge problem that we've got. I mean, the network is being owned by the state, and obviously it's the very same state, or it's the very same monarchy that we do not want. So they just toy around with the network as they please. Thank you very much to our speaker for today, and we're getting something, although somehow, but we do get some of the information. There is a point that he touched. He was talking about the youth being in the forefront, something like that. Like if there's something that's being done in your community, make sure that you're always in the forefront. Show your leadership, and then even when it comes to the politics, they can be able to vouch for you and say, we know this one, we've seen him or her work, and then we trust that whatever that we give it to him or her can be handled properly. So my question, my question was, what if you create the thing yourself? Like you create maybe job opportunities, or maybe not job opportunities, because that would require you to have a lot of capital, but maybe something small, like something that will benefit the community, so that they trust you up to a point that when you come with your political ideas, they will then believe in you because they've seen you helping them before you introduced your politics to them. So I think Ibe covered my leader. Thank you very much for this political school. It is really helping us a lot. Thank you.
Yo, thanks a lot, ma'am. I'm not sure, comrade, whether I need to respond to that, to say how do you start something and make sure it's introduced and it gets buy-in before you introduce a political party, or I take that as a comment. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether you want my response to it, that or something.
No, I think that was just a comment that that there is an emphasis on the answer that people need more than just words. They need an objective that they are working towards. It does not necessarily have to be monetary, but it must be transformative and show that sustainable future in those 4 areas that you gave us earlier. If I may check if there's any other question, we are about an hour and we're about to close today. I will then like Comrade to have your final closing before I then send it back to the president and the chairperson of the party. Thank you.
No, Mafrika, I think for me, I would want to appreciate the opportunity given to share my experiences. It's my first time. I've never done this before. And thanks, man. I think Nami, as a person, I've learned a lot. And also in terms of exchanging knowledge and how, as young people, we see the future. I think I've learned. Maybe in closing, as young people, that I want to put to be probably a homework to the youth league that we are dealing with, is to say, comrades, can you kindly look at the issue of the fourth industrial revolution, participation, particularly of African young people in fourth industrial revolution. It cannot be foreign. It cannot be owned by Chinese. It cannot be owned by Americans. Let's get into that space and master it. Israel.
Africa, Comrade President, over to you.
Thank you so much, National Chairperson. Thank you so much to our guest, Comrade Tommy, for such a good presentation, for capacitating us. And thank you so much to the Pan Africanist Congress of Tanzania, the whole organization, for creating for their international solidarity with us as my comrades abangwane kule situation lena lesibhekene nayo nokusupporta kufike la. Thank you so much, comrades, nokutholela ama-guest laqhubeka kade usikapacitator sivule ingcondo zisakhona ukuthi sakhe ama-tactics ukuthi how do we get rid, how do we dismantle the regime that is brutal, that is cruel, that is collapsing the economy, that is collapsing everything in the country. The health system, the education if they feel vele the youth lelana, some of them mateshar, but the education they feel ibulele regime, the health system ifile even Ndlovukazi Magwa Mswati lokusikhuluma uphumile kangwane wabaleka uyolashwa kulamanye amave because la kangwane kude longalashwa khona because kude imithi edibhedlela uyafika emawuliswati ungena esibhedlela bakunike emaphanado emva kwalokho bakubhalele ukuthi hamba uthenga kuphi etitolo kuma-pharmacy. Uma uthi yale kuma-pharmacy ukhanze ukuthi imali ledula. Recently bekhala bogogo bakhala ngokuthi etibhedlela sothola 2 emaphanado wemaphilisi e-BP lalamanye athi 400 something ema-pharmacy. That's how the situation is. But bona in the part of the role of the youth in the struggle, comrades, thank you so much for capacitating us. And within the key point, the comrade lingawa emphasize and all I'm for with that the youth is the backbone. That's a part, comrade. Thank you so much, comrades. Nangma comrades onke la phumelele ku discussion ma-Africa. Thank you so much. Niqhubeke ma-Africa. Amandla.
Thank you very much. Would you want to the final word?
Thank you very much, Comrade Ninjani. Nonke. Siyathemba ukuthi na ngale eMzansi baniphethe kahle eAzania. For us ngapha eKangwane, the struggle continues. And I'm hopeful with these young people maybe there is bigger light at the end of the tunnel. But I want to thank the comrade that made this presentation. It was a true reflection of serve, suffer, and sacrifice, which is our slogan as Pan Africanists, that you do not put yourself first, but you put the organization first. I think the contributions that he's been able to show us that you don't only look at what the party can do for you, but what you can do for the party. Showed us really, I would say, this is what is achievable. There are a lot of similar stories, I mean, even within ourselves in the country, but it is much better when you hear it from young people, and we are hopeful that our future is better, and the United States of Africa will be seen maybe in our time. With those words, I would like to say thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you very much to the PAC, and thank you very much to our members and our fellow colleagues. Siyabonga, izwe lethu Africa.
Africa, let's thank the NNSC and NNSC Youth League as our host and say thank you very much, comrades. Let's speak next week. Thank you.